BioWare has been facing the wrath of gamers when it comes to Dragon Age the Veilguard. You have nostalgic fans who are extremely upset that this is basically a soft reboot of the franchise and they didn't head in the direction with the story fans wanted. There are those who are upset over the identity politics within this title, and of course, the media is already trying their very best to damage control, saying that it's EA's biggest ever single player game launch on Steam, but the numbers really are not that impressive. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, obviously, we all knew that Dragon Age the Veilguard was going to get some numbers because it's an established franchise. There are a lot of people out there who love it and really wanted to give this a shot, and you have a lot of individuals who do not know about Gamergate 2 and the culture war, and they do not know about, the saga surrounding this game, all of the identity politics, the way that some of the developers have acted, the way that BioWare is acting right now with banning gamers off of these Steam forums and these subreddits, trying to silence people. But now we have the media, specifically in this case, IGN, saying Dragon Age the Veilguard's launch has already made it EA's biggest ever single-player game on Steam, topping the charts and beating out the concurrence for 2023's Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which might sound impressive to some people, but it really doesn't sound that impressive for individuals who have been paying attention to the culture war, because they are saying that, yeah, it's beating a game like Jedi Survivor, which did really good. Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor combined sold upwards of 15 million copies, which is crazy and fantastic. They were good games. I preferred Fallen Order over Jedi Survivor for sure, but it wasn't terrible. And of course, it's EA, right? So EA is another mega company in the industry. You might be thinking, wow, they've launched such big titles, but there's very specific wording here: single player game, because if you actually head on over to the Steam charts for this, they're not all that impressive. The all-time peak on release day was 70,414, 66,881 players in game right now. And yes, okay, it launched on a Thursday, which in my opinion is really bizarre of a company to do, especially for a game of this size, but they wanted it to be a Halloween release, which I guess is kind of cool to say. But I do think it's going to reach higher numbers over release weekend, though I don't expect this at this point to hit behemoth numbers of some other games that have released over the past couple of years that were also single player, that I'll get into in a minute. Because when you consider that Dragon Age is an established franchise, it's a BioWare game. BioWare used to be very well known in the industry. They've had a lot of flops over the past few years. And you know that this is EA. I mean, sure, you'd think that it would be doing crazy. And this is, as it points out, the only other single-player EA game that has done these numbers, but there's only one other single-player EA game that's debuted on Steam, and that is Jedi Survivor, so it's not like there's really a lot of competition. You either were number one or you were number two. And if you think about other single-player games that have launched over the past few years, I mean, we're talking peanuts here. Look at something like Hogwarts Legacy. Yes, I understand the Harry Potter IP and the Wizarding World is absolutely massive, but it's still a single player game that released nearly 2 years ago, 1.8 years ago, at 879,308 players, and it's still going strong with 22,000. I mean, it's a single player title, it comes out, it ends up dropping in numbers. Then of course you have Black Myth Wukong, which was not an established franchise, was from a brand new development team, 2.4 million all-time peak 3 months ago at release, and it's still got 44,000 players in game right now. And the 24-hour peak was 124,991 players. So 125K months after release is still fantastic, and these are all great games. I think that they're fantastic, and you also have to look at right now its direct competition, which is the Monster Hunter Wilds beta. It did release on the same day, a couple of hours later, but close to each other. It had an all-time peak of 463,798 players in game, and the users online right now are 129,348. And true, you have to point out the fact that this is a open beta. It's free. Anybody could download it and play it, which is true. But it just goes to show that there are significantly more people who are interested in Wilds versus Dragon Age the Veilguard, and I don't think that Dragon Age the Veilguard really deserves a lot of the praise that the media is giving it. I've started live streaming my playthrough. The first part will be linked down below. I'll be playing it over the weekend, but it wasn't anything to write home about. You know, I thought the environments were really pretty, even though a lot of them seemed very similar. The map designs or level designs were really mediocre. Everything's just basically a giant circle. I do actually think quite a few of the character models are pretty decent. If you take a lot of time and you really fine tune how your character looks, I think that the abilities are really cool, and the combat's very similar to Hogwarts Legacy and like God of War, so that's not super unique, but the storytelling is truly awful. Characters repeat themselves constantly. Like someone will say, oh, let's go over to that ruin, like a question, and then a character will follow up with saying, yeah, let's go over to that ruin. It's constant repeating. Of course, you do have the identity politics where you have to pick your pronouns, you can do the top surgery scar toggle, you have to choose your transgender identity. Like, it is very prominent from the few hours that I had played, and so far it's just very okay. Maybe my opinion will change as I play more, though I am kind of disappointed at this point in time, though it doesn't seem like it's just me. A lot of people are kind of roasting Dragon Age, and also the media saying, yeah, none of their other games debuted on Steam, though. May want to mention that part again. Star Wars Jedi Survivor did, but they were either coming in at slot number 1 or 2. They're talking about how can't even break 100K and they call this a success. Yeah, I mean, when you have games that have launched over the past year with, you know, millions of players, you'd think that they would be trying to kind of fly under the radar with this instead of claim it's a major success when it really isn't. People are also pointing out the cost to make Veilguard is $250 million plus. We do not have any confirmation on that, though that is the rumor, and I would believe it, judging by the fact that it was in development for so many years. Copy sold 70,000, price $79.99, dollars in sales, 5.6 million. We also do not have the console numbers, and I'm sure that it is doing pretty good on consoles as well. So let's take that 70 and times 2 or times 3 it, right? Either way, we are not even close to the amount of sales that they would need. We are not talking about them making some massive amount of money, and I just don't know if that is necessarily going to happen. Maybe it will, only time will tell, but right now the media is trying to damage control for the Veilguard, gamers are roasting them, and it's not going well for Bioware. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.